Can Monsanto please stop fucking us over to make shit tons of money? Well, guess what? You know how I bitched about glyphosate and told y'all glyphosate was killing us and poisoning our food supply and pretty much responsible for most autoimmune problems, has been linked to autism, has been linked to the rise of celiac disease, and has been shown in scientific experiments to produce cancer in rats. And it's bad shit. And it is in almost our entire food supply. I've gone over this in the past, but I feel the need to refresh things because guess what? Monsanto just got kicked right in the balls in a court of law by the first of over 4,000 motherfuckers who are suing Monsanto for glyphosate, aka Roundup, causing cancer, specifically non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a rather brutal form of cancer that is appearing in large amounts of agricultural workers and people that work in landscaping and so on and so forth who are constantly inhaling, overexposed, and completely saturated with glyphosate. And it is in so many of our foods that, you know, it could easily be linked to a lot of our chronic illnesses. And we need more hard science that we're never going to fucking get. So let's take a look at the Wall Street Journal's article, which is in the link below, if you would like to read this. Also in the link below, I will place a couple of news clips to kind of catch you up. But in San Francisco, which is a site of many of these lawsuits, finds that the company failed to warn of potential cancer risk from the Roundup weed killer. As in, if you know, also in the link below is an Amazon link to Whitewash, which is a book I read, on how Monsanto pretty much gave us shit science, biased science, you know, ghost-written fucking papers, pencil-whipped by some fucking scientist that took some big-ass fucking paycheck, which made glyphosate safe. And our government hasn't protected us in this. They even raised the amount of glyphosate we're allowed to have in our motherfucking food supply. It used to have a limit. And then we found out, hey, it's fucking above the limit. But rather than just make the company comply with the limits on glyphosate, they raised the fucking limit. That's like, oh shit, we got a bunch of dickheads speeding up this fucking residential road going 50 miles an hour, and it should be 30 miles an hour so we don't kill people. So let's raise the speed limit to 50 miles an hour. No, motherfucker, you give tickets to all the motherfuckers that are going over the speed limit. You don't raise the speed limit to accommodate the people that are breaking the fucking rules. That's our, at least in the United States government's form of protection. It's pretty bad when the Russian government has banned the shit. France has banned the shit. A lot of European companies or countries have regulated the shit out of it, but yet here in the United States, you can have all the glyphosate you want. You can pour glyphosate on your cornflakes and your fucking bread and your pasta, in all of your commodity crops, soy, sugar beet. It is just everywhere. It's in our water supply. It's even in the fucking air in high capacity agricultural areas of the country. You can look it up. You can Google glyphosate map and see just how fucked you are. And so what does that mean? What is bad about glyphosate? A lot of people don't even give a shit. I can't even talk people out of carbs and sugar, and now you're going to throw glyphosate into the mix. And it's just something that short term isn't going to fuck you that hard. But long term, you're going to start to notice a whole lot of problems. So let's go over the verdict first and what I think that means going forward for Monsanto. A jury has ordered Monsanto, this is from Wall Street Journal, to pay $289 million in a landmark lawsuit over whether exposure to two of its powerful weed killers caused cancer. The jury verdict in San Francisco Superior Court and the latest setback for Monsanto, now part of Bayer, and I'm not a big fan of Bayer because y'all know how I feel about the pharmaceutical industry at this point, as its flagship weed killer Roundup comes under increased scrutiny follow a 2015 determination from the World Health Organization that glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup herbicides, is probably carcinogenic. And that's another thing. We are pussyfooting around the fact that this shit's bad. We have been tiptoeing because it is such a huge part of our agricultural economy. It is a part of our profit system in our food system. It is why our food is cheaper. If you want to take glyphosate out of the picture, you're going to see a large increase in food prices. This is unavoidable. But the question is, should you pay a little bit more now for your food so you don't have to spend the next 20 years of your fucking life on pills, in hospitals, and spending all of this money on medical costs when maybe you might pay $4 extra for some organic shit? You know, I kind of think I'm leaning more towards the pay the organic farmers to keep us healthy and so we don't suffer than to pay the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry to keep us alive because we eat the fucking shit. Can you tell I'm a little fucking triggered here? On Friday, the first of thousands, I believe over 4,000 people in multiple cities in the United States are suing Monsanto for punitive damages because of cancer. However, cancer isn't the only thing that glyphosate causes. Glyphosate is fucking bad. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. But let me just finish up with Mr. Johnson, who is on death. You know, he's pretty much on death row in terms of cancer. He's got maybe a year left. You know, and he's getting this money. His family's going to get this money. And Monsanto is not going to blink an eye at $290 million. However, this does set a legal precedent. And the motherfuckers are appealing it. And they're trying to bring all of their whitewashed science to bear. But the evidence has already been out there that they knew that this probably is carcinogenic. I don't know what the fuck we got the probably for. And, you know, the one study with the rats, they got the rats that weren't eating the glyphosate corn. They had the rats that were eating the glyphosate corn. And the rats that were eating the glyphosate corn had big ass fucking tumors. And the rats that weren't don't. But because they didn't study enough rats, it was junk science. Well, let's go ahead and do that fucking science then, if you really want to dispute it with an unbiased, unpaid for fucking scientist, and have them do the proper protocol for testing for carcinogens versus testing for toxicity, which is what the original rat study was conducted for. And it discovered the cancer, but because it didn't follow the carcinogen protocol, Monsanto said fuck you and your science. They hired somebody to get on the board for that medical journal and retract the fucking paper. The paper is still out there, published in less well-respected areas of the internet, but that is how Monsanto rolls. Why? One fucking reason: dollar signs. Dollar signs at the expense of our health. And I am quite frankly sick and tired of people making money off of our bad health and providing us with very little options to be healthy without paying through the ass. And this is supported by government because it is keeping billions of dollars in the food industry, in the agricultural industrial industry, and in the pharmaceutical industry. It's like this trifecta of our economy. It is a huge portion of our economy, and nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to fucking snap out of it. They want to keep making their money. Don't piss in the pool. That's the policy of our government. That's the policy of our industry, because profit takes precedence over public health in all of those sectors of modern society, including the medical world. It's all about the fucking money, and nobody gives a shit how the last 20 years of your life are going to suck all your personal time and wealth out, along with your quality of life, and putting you on these medications to keep you alive long enough to suck you dry of all your corporate fucking debt-slaved fucking labor that you've put into the world, and take all the money you might have still accumulated from that away from you at the last end of your life and redistribute it into the coffers of the corporations like Monsanto. Well, now it's time to call them on the carpet and fucking get them to pay back that money to the people who have suffered for it. And I contend it's not just all of these cancer patients. I contend there's lots of autoimmune problems. There's lots of medication costs, hospital visits associated with celiac disease. Any autoimmune disease could be easily linked. And if you were to find funding for scientific studies that would provide this, I guarantee you we would find hard evidence that glyphosate does that. In the description below is Dr. Vrain, I believe his name is, a lecture on the science, and he cites all the papers. He was originally for GMO crops, and he puts this really nice scientific lecture together, but Canadian government, which is where he's from, took a shit on it because most of their agriculture is based on Roundup ready crops, which are commodity crops, monoculture farming, and filling your store shelves with corn, soy, wheat, and all of these crops that are fucking tainted with glyphosate. So if you weren't worried about glyphosate, you fucking should be. Because if you're having any of these issues, if you're having these symptoms, if you're on medications, if you have tons of allergies, you have tons of autoimmune issues, and, any gut health issues whatsoever, including depression and all these other problems, glyphosate is a factor. And we'll get into a little bit of why. I'm going to go over some of the things I know and have learned, but ultimately you should watch and really scour the internet for the truth about glyphosate, because it is in your food supply. If you were to have your urine tested, it is in your body. Monsanto said it washes right out of your body. No, it does not. It's been proven to bioaccumulate, as in the more glyphosate you consume, the more you have in you. And this stuff is bad stuff on multiple levels. It's a step in the right direction that he won his victory, but it's not over. It is the first shot fired in what is sure to be one of the biggest, most expensive legal battles of all time. And until Monsanto honestly should go out of business to pay everyone affected by this, not just the cancer patients, but everybody who has suffered numerous medical damages. Maybe not fatal, but still, there's people paying out of their ass to stay alive, to to fight their autoimmune illnesses, to fight celiac disease, to fight diabetes, though I don't think diabetes can be directly linked. There's other factors in our diet, which I get into. But most of our commodity crops, which create our processed food diet here in the United States, are loaded with glyphosate. Our water supply in all the agricultural areas is full of glyphosate, and it is far exceeding what used to be the legal limit. But instead of getting it down to the legal limit, we raised the legal limit and unregulated and allowed Monsanto to become one of the most powerful companies on the planet because they control food. They control every ounce of food that you eat. Take a thought about that. You have a corporation that has patents on seeds, that has patents on the crops because they are immune to the Roundup, because they genetically modified them to be so. They own the food you eat in one spot or another. They are contributing to your food supply. And they're also contributing to your bad health. Now, the dose determines the poison. The healthier a whole food, more organic you eat, the less exposure you have. But you are not out of the woods. Ketos are not out of the woods because they're feeding the animals this stuff. So fasting is definitely a tool to mitigate it. And eating as organic as possible is also a tool to mitigate it. Fruits, they're not going to be sprayed with it, but it is still in the water. But crops like wheat and grain, well, we'll get into that in a sec. But let's just say that's probably the most dense because they intentionally expose a lot of those crops prior to the harvest to kill them and dry them out and make it easier for the machines to do their job and deliver it to your cereals, to your breads, to your oatmeals, to all of the crops that they use that particular method for. Like I said, thousands of motherfuckers are doing this. Steve Yacht brought this, Yak, I believe your name is, Steve Yak, submitted that article via ScottTheTruckDriver.com research page. Also, a couple of you mentioned it in the comments. Angel Missy, I believe, is one of them. So yes, pay attention. And the other problem I think with this, other than people like me spreading this, is the news media, I think, focused on it for like 5 minutes. I mean, I didn't even hear about it till you guys told me. And I try and keep in touch with, I don't watch the news every day. But the big shit, and this is big shit, should, because it affects all of us. It really does. It should get a little bit more fucking airtime than it did. But no, it's a little bitty dot. Why? Because guess who's paying for advertising on the big networks? I know I sound like I should be wearing a tinfoil fucking hat here. You can't have this much shit line up in perfect synchronization without thinking that there's some kind of overarching shit going on here. The fact is, nobody wants to lose money. Everybody wants to make shit tons of money, and no one's going to do anything that fucks with that at this point. So it is really up to us and how we spend our money. The food you put in your mouth is voting to keep the status quo for this shit. The only way you get these companies to change is to somehow get out of their shit and stop buying their shit. Very difficult to impossible. I mean, aside from growing your own crops and finding the small organic farmers and the farmers markets who sometimes probably still use fucking glyphosate for other purposes other than, since they don't have the GMO crops, they probably still kill the weeds with the shit when the GMOs aren't fucking ready. I don't know. I don't know what the regulations are on that. But the water supply is tainted, so even the organic crops have a glyphosate, though all but less amount. So dose determines the poison. So think about it when you're eating, when you're buying food. if it is filled with soy and wheat and corn and all of the basic commodity crops, the ones that are profitable, the ones that make money, the ones that they stuff wherever they can fucking stuff to give you those empty mineral fucking free calories and leaving you holding the bag with health while leaving someone else holding all your money. Whether it's the agribusiness themselves or subsequently the pharmaceutical industry, who, by the way, is about to buy Monsanto for a large amount of money. So basically you have the industry that's going to fix you when you're fucked up, buying the industry that fucked you up, so you're probably fucked. If you really think about that paradigm, if Bayer acquires Monsanto, then you have a conflict of interest there. I don't know how the fuck they can let that happen, because it completes a circle of profit that just spins on us. It fucking provides us with the food that makes us ill, then provides us with the medicine that keeps us alive and treats those illness, which we have to take the rest of our fucking lives. It is a vicious cycle, sucking the money out of our lives and sucking the health and quality of life away, all to make more money for their shareholders. And that is why I'm so pissed off at corporations, big corporations that have grown out of control, and they need to rein their shit in. And the only people that are going to rein their shit in apparently is the judicial system, but we all know that system isn't perfect, and us. How we spend our money, how we spend our time. This is why I'm a minimalist also, because I don't want to give all of my life energy away so that it can be snuffed out or taken away because I become ill because of the shit I eat all the time. So while I'm not 100% pure healthy, I do know I've minimized my glyphosate exposure. I eat organic as often as possible. My diet is very limited. Doesn't mean I'm glyphosate free. So that's pretty much where we're at with Monsanto. So I encourage you, if you know somebody who has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, you should be having them call a lawyer and get in on that, because Monsanto needs to pay as many motherfuckers as possible. And that is the only people suing right now that I'm aware of are the people with cancer. It's been linked to increased breast cancer. There's a study that shows that. I mean, it's a fucking nightmare. And it would require a systemic change in our food system, which will result in higher prices, which nobody wants. Not even the food industry. Why? We like cheap shit. Well, there's a price to be paid for the cheap shit. It's really the fact that you're going to pay. You may be able to go and buy that box of fucking glyphosate-filled macaroni and cheese in the fucking store for 99 cents. But you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of your life dealing with the diseases that result from eating that way. And it's just a simple fact. And some of you are younger and feel like you're invincible, feel like I don't have any of these problems, so fuck you. That does not mean you're going to make it. All right? A lot of these things hit you later in life. And you're fortunate if they do, because a lot of people are getting sick at younger ages. You got kids sick now. And it's ridiculous. We can't sustain this as a society, I don't think. You know, call me crazy, but sooner or later, we're going to run out of people making money to support all of this, because they won't be able to fucking work. So, I don't know. I don't know what to do about it. I'm not a fucking expert. I am, however, a fucking asshole, which is why I'm making this video saying fuck you to Monsanto, because I'm just so tired of it. I really am. I see it all around me. I see so many people doing so much unhealthy to themselves, oblivious to it. And this is just one part of it. You know, there are so many unhealthy practices we do that is just for financial gain. The whole sugar, overconsumption of sugar thing, that is entirely financially driven and government supported with subsidies. The whole fucking commoditization and monoculture and the shitty crops and the destruction of our soils and all of these problems are all financially driven, with little fucks given about public health. Oh yeah, they'll tell you they care about public health, but they'll make a food plate that gives you fucking 50% that says, hey, you need to eat these these crops, these commodity crops that make us fucking money. Eat those. Those are healthy and shit. No, don't eat the meat or any of the, no, not the veg. There's a little veggie spot there, but we want grains and shit. You should be eating mostly grains. Why? Because that's what makes us fucking money, you piece of shit. So go over there and eat them fucking grains on your my fucking plate and make sure they have that heart healthy fucking stamp on them, because we know that fucking matters and shit. This is bullshit. I mean, come on. I mean, how do they get away with this still? You know, and they're going to fight it tooth and nail. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the appeal. Because let's face it, Monsanto, backed up by Bayer, has got a legal team that'll fucking wipe their ass with you. They'll keep you in court for the fucking 100 years just to not pay out and say that their product needs to be taken off the market. Why? Because it is such a huge industry, a $60 billion or some shit industry, that it would destroy the economy as a whole. It would increase food prices. It would change our food system in a way that could result in hunger coming back and being a thing. And is it worth it? That's the question. You know, I don't know. You know, do we go back to more expensive food or where we have food shortages and shit? I don't know. But that's a long time ago. And I think we've brought up other areas of technology which would allow us the logistics necessary to feed everybody, but a little bit pricier. But I'd rather spend it in the grocery store than spend it in the fucking pharmaceutical industry if we're keeping track, you know? So why is glyphosate bad? So for those of you who don't know, well, first of all, let's talk about how what it's used on. It's used on soy. It's used on wheat. It's used on all the commodity crops, corn, oats, all of this, because they do a process called desiccation. That's when they chemically ripen your crops just prior to the harvest, as in they kill the crops. And if you have ever driven by one of them fucking cornfields that's all brown, still has the corn there, but it's fucking brown as shit. That's what's going on. They killed the crops by spraying it with glyphosate, and then the machine can just, all the weeds are dead, everything's dead and dried out. The machine comes right through there, harvests all the shit, you're good to go. So the problem with that is you're eating that. That's your cornflakes and shit. All right? That's your breakfast cereal. That's your pancakes. That's your breads. It's your oatmeal that everyone thinks is fucking healthy. It's your whole grains and shit. They're not genetically modified because the fucking glyphosate has to kill it. So it's not that they can put non-GMO all over them packages. But you don't see any fucking labeling for glyphosate now, do you? It's interesting to note that there are multiple countries in Europe that require glyphosate labels so that you could at the very least make a fucking choice on whether or not you want to eat the shit. The United States has nothing like that. You don't know how much fucking glyphosate you're doing unless you go out and test the shit, which is not cheap and not something that's widely available to everyone. So we need to stop that process, which changes the yield, which changes the amount of work a farm has to do, which raises the price of just about every processed food, because let's face it, these commodity crops are what 90% of processed food is made of. You can find wheat in just about every packaged food in one form or another, along with sugar, which is also a commodity crop, which is also sprayed with, the sugar beet is sprayed, and the sugar cane uses the desiccation process as well. So even sugar cane, glyphosate. So the GMOs that everybody was worried about, probably not the big factor in our health problem. It was what the GMOs were designed to do. Most GMO crops are genetically modified to be able to withstand glyphosate. AKA, you had the crop there, you got your little fucking weeds there. Instead of doing the old-fashioned way of pulling weeds, which really sucks, requires a lot of labor to do, oh, well, we'll just fucking have this GMO Monsanto patented fucking seeds that you're not allowed to save. without penalty. You're not allowed to grow this shit without our fucking royalties getting paid. Step one. But then you can take our product, which this seed was designed to withstand, and spray it all over the food, your crops, and have all the fucking weeds die, and have all the fucking crops live. Problem solved. Less work for the farm, lower costs for the food, more profits for Monsanto. And they have enjoyed this circle of fucking profit since, I believe, 93 or 96, somewhere in there, that they really ramped up these crops. And now it is so prevalent that nearly 100% of all of our commodity crops are GMO'd to withstand glyphosate. So they're Roundup ready and shit. Are you Roundup ready? Well, let's see. What does it do to us? It does a whole lot of shit. First of all, glyphosate came into being as a descaling agent, which is it binds to minerals and renders them bio-unavailable for us. And so it lowers the mineral content of every plant. So all you fucking vegans, take notice. It lowers the mineral concentration in all of the plants, all of the soil. So you result in food that is pretty much just empty fucking calories. It looks healthy, smells healthy, tastes the fucking same, but you ain't getting jack shit for minerals. And let's face it, if you're not getting minerals and you become mineral deficient, we all know that can lead to heart attacks, that can lead to fucking muscle cramps, that can lead to all kinds of fucking problems, because minerals are required to work your proteins in the body. Without minerals, your proteins can't do shit, and your enzymes can't do shit, and enzymes have a mineral in the middle, so that one of the other things that it does is it binds to the mineral inside the enzymes that are fucking doing all the energy transfer and all the work in your body, and makes that useless. So it kills cells. It promotes apoptosis, or however the fuck you pronounce that, where it's basically self-death of cells. It causes that. It is been patented, and you can look this up, as an antibiotic, a broad spectrum antibiotic. And if you know anything about gut health, which is essentially an organ that was recently discovered, that's all that gut bacteria that helps you in a symbiotic relationship digest your food. It is directly tied to your autoimmune system, as in your gut bacteria tells your body how to defend itself from invaders. And when you kill it all off, then some of the really bad bugs are immune to glyphosate. So you really fuck yourself. Your gut wall becomes permeable. You get all of these toxins into your body. You start having hives. You start having asthma. You start having all of these allergic reactions to foods that you otherwise would be able to tolerate just fine. So if you're suffering from severe allergies, depression, because you're not, one of the serotonin is largely provided by your gut microbiome. So if you kill off your microbiome, you're not getting enough serotonin, hence you're going to be depressed, which is why a lot of people find when they come off the standard American diet, their depression improves. And if you go full carnivore, their depression goes away in many cases. Why? Because you are fixing your gut biome by not bombarding it with massive amounts of glyphosate. You're not killing it. You're not consuming an antibiotic constantly in toxic levels if you're not consuming those commodity crops, aka processed food. So it's taking away your minerals. It's killing your gut fucking microbiome. It is a carcinogen, probably, whatever the fuck that means, but I'm pretty sure if I'm looking at the evidence, I'm saying it's a fucking carcinogen. But what the fuck do I know? I'm just some fucking dickhead on the internet and shit. So, and in 2014, there was a study that showed chronically ill people tested for higher levels of glyphosate in their urine than healthy people. So that is another one of them epidemiology fucking studies, which some could argue are not conclusive, and Monsanto will certainly argue are not conclusive. Monsanto is putting out all kinds of bad science. They are as bad as the tobacco industry used to be. And I think we need to follow the model of what we did to the tobacco industry when it comes to Monsanto. They need to be kicked off their high horse. They had a nice run. All their motherfucking corporate motherfuckers that own Monsanto, stock in Monsanto, are sitting in nice fucking big houses. You know, let's stop the fucking cycle here. That's what I think, you know. And the only way you can do it is to go more organic. Stay away from monoculture crops. Stay away from processed foods, which eliminates a whole lot. If food has one ingredient, chances are you're okay. Stay away from the commodity monoculture crops and go with organic food. Yeah, you're going to pay a little more, but in the end, you're going to pay less in medical costs. You're going to pay less in missed time from fucking going to doctors and being hospitalized. You're going to pay less in losing limbs and shit from being a diabetic. Just all of the massive amounts of improvement, doing the opposite of the fucking food plate and the food guidelines alone. I don't know how much of it we can rest on glyphosate's shoulders, but it is definitely a canary in the coal mine right now in terms of telling us what in our food is fucking us up the most. I don't know. I can't weigh it. There's a lot of parallels going on. A lot of activists want to lump everything on one thing. You know, you got fucking Dr. Lustig wants to blame everything on sugar. You've got Dr. William Davis who wants to blame everything on grain. And you've got, you know, all the glyphosate people saying it's not the grain, it's the glyphosate. Every one of these is playing a role in our overall chronic rise in chronic illness. And these are preventable diseases, and they're diseases of our diet. And unless we change that, unless we do something about that, you're going to walk down that road. Now, you might get lucky, all right? You might be a fucking unicorn who lives to their 80s with all kinds of glyphosate up your ass. And I'm not disputing that, but if you look at the statistics, the likelihood that you're going to be that unicorn is pretty fucking low right now, and getting lower every year. Life expectancy dropped for the first time in the United States. So while we're badasses when it comes to treating infectious disease now, we've gone and fucking reversed any progress we made there by allowing ourselves to succumb to chronic disease, because the government only gives a shit if something is acutely toxic, and there's very little fucks given if it's like, long-term disease, because there's money in that. There's not a lot of money in acute shit. Yeah, you'll get sick quick and you'll die quick. So we want to regulate that. But when it comes to the fucking long-term diseases, the ones that take 20 years to really fucking kill you, if you're lucky, and we ain't gonna fuck with that, because a large portion of our economy is built on that. I don't know what's gonna change that. As we sit here and bicker in this outrage fucking culture that we're in, I see virtually no outrage on this subject. There's nobody ready to fucking change this system. If I look around me, I see people outraged about Trump this, or, this government congressman did that, or, this person said this that was offensive. Meanwhile, we're not offended by the millions of people being killed by our food system as it currently stands, our industrial processed food, which is shit. It is. There is no changing it. There is very little healthy processed food in the world. It's a minefield that will destroy your health long term. You might live a long time, though. You're going to have a lot of pills. You're going to have that little fucking pill box with the days on it, with 6 pills on each day and that kind of shit that you see a lot of older people having to do. I don't want to be that person, which is one of the reasons I do this, which is why I've been keto as long as I have now and will continue to be keto for the majority of my time. Yeah, I'll have a cheat day here and there. Not disputing that. There's going to be a time where I knowingly eat the poison. But I do believe dose determines the poison. I'm not going to live forever. You know, there's many other things that could take me out of the game. That, you know, a cheat day once every 3 to 4 weeks isn't going to fucking kill me. But that's my choice. Ultimately, it's better if you never cheat. You know, it's better if you don't drink. There's all kinds of things you can do to increase your health span. I'm 42. I'm perfectly healthy right now at 42. And I think I can squeeze another 20 years of health before maybe my health span ends and I have to rely on the pharmaceutical industry to not die. And that's really what it comes to. How often are you going to the doctors? How many fucking prescriptions do you have? How many fucking psychological prescriptions do you have? A lot of people still have not made the connection on mental health and diet, and I believe they are intimately connected from my own experience, from the experiences that a lot of people have shared with me through my channel, and through some of the testimonial and anecdotal evidence shown by people who have gone carnivore and solved their depression and anxiety problems, along with hosts of autoimmune illnesses and so on and so forth. So do your homework on this shit. Don't take this glyphosate lightly. It doesn't get talked about enough, and I'm guilty of it too. I sometimes get so focused on other things that I forget that this is one of the bigger fucking issues that we're dealing with in our health. It is one of the bigger killers in our food system. And until, I'm hoping all their lawsuits follow suit and that they take this shit out of the food system. It needs to go. And we need to go maybe take a step back in our farming practices, in our agriculture. But I was already for that anyway. I don't believe in monoculture crops. I believe we should have a farming system that works with nature, that does not go against nature. And it is possible, and we have the resources and capabilities and logistics to make it happen. But it's all about crop yields and profit and money. It's not about our health. There are very few farmers out there who are growing shit because they like to make sure that you're eating healthy food. No, they're out there to make money, like everybody else. So ultimately, what it boils down to are the decisions you make with your diet, what you spend your money on, and how you get unaddicted to some of these foods, which are designed to addict you. Coming soon is a grain video as I finish up the Wheat Belly Total Health audiobook that I've been reading. And it is intimately related with this particular topic because glyphosate is used on almost all wheat and grain crops. So it's hard to delineate which is causing us more fucking damage, the glyphosate or the GMO to death fucking wheat, which is just a shadow of the wheat we used to have. You can go all the way back to ancient times, 10,000 years ago, when we first decided to eat this way, and see a negative trend in the chronic diseases that we succumb to. So, there's evidence going way back. However, I would say the explosion in current levels of epidemics of chronic disease correlate rather heavily with our increased use of chemical farming, including, and maybe even a large part of, attributing it to glyphosate or something and shit. So that's me being triggered and shit. So sorry. If you like this video and you found it enlightening or entertaining, or you just like watching me pop vessels out of my fucking head when I talk about Monsanto, please head to ScottTheTruckDriver.com and leave a tip in the virtual fucking tip jar. Or you can go to patreon.com/ScottTheTruckDriver and become a monthly contributor. It's a lot easier for some people to do it that way. But it is better if you go to the website and tip, as far as, you know, how much I get of that. And that allows me to continue to spend time to make this video. This video was a little bit of a pain in the ass to make today because I wanted to do it outside in front of a cornfield, but it's fucking raining and my shit's not rainproof, so there's that. Also, please like and subscribe for more shit, and I'll make all kinds of shit and shit. As for how I've been doing, I've been largely keto, doing fat fasting, ADF. Sometimes I skip an ADF day and I just do a 23-hour fast. Fat fasts when I do fasts. And I've been maintaining 191 this whole time, which means that I maintained the weight I lost during the wilderness fast. So it was a successful wilderness fast. There will be more wilderness fasts to come. I'm also planning some more adventures, exploration videos, survival videos. I'm very highly interested in learning some survival skills so I can go backpacking, so I can become even more minimalist, you know, to where, you know, it's not a big drop from minimalist to survivalist, because you really have to be minimalist to go backpacking, because you don't want to carry everything. So it gets heavy after a while and shit. There's going to be more than that. We're going to have more guest stars coming up on the channel. I don't know, like, not real stars, just buddies of mine who want to go out and do this shit with me. So, yeah, rather than have me die alone in the woods, we can all die together, because we suck at survival. Can't even make fire properly and shit. So look forward to more of those videos. We'll be doing an Urbex video shortly, but we'll get to that in the next video. Have a nice motherfucking day and shit. And fuck Monsanto. Tired of their shit. Really. Really. You know, I may have overcome what they did to me for the most part, but I'm tired of seeing the people around me suffer at their hands. You know, it is what it is, though. In the end, everyone has a choice to make, but most people are making uninformed choices because Monsanto is fighting it. And the government isn't looking out for us in that regard. So it took a jury to put the screws to him. And you can even tell the judge didn't even like reading it. You know? That we've pussyfooted around them long enough. It's time that we call them in on all of the profit that they made at the expense of public health. You know? Call me an activist at this point, but I feel very strongly on this issue. All of this is my opinion, you know? It is what it is. Form your own opinion and leave that opinion in the fucking comments after you get done hitting the like and the bell and all that other shit. So have a nice motherfucking glyphosate-free day and shit. And glyphosate-free shit. Fuck Monsanto and shit.